Good to go.
Duty tonight.
Yeah, still early. Good evening. We'll call to order the Charter Revision Commission regular meeting, December 3rd, 2024. Can we please stand in allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, good evening, commissioners.
Evening.
Thank you for being online, Commissioner Blanco and Commissioner McCann. Sorry. Just quick updates. A couple things. After our last meeting, we had a lengthy discussion about the fact that we were going to solicit inputs from all of our board chairmen and commissioners of other commissions, and with Jane's help, that list was sent out, I think, 2 days after our meeting, and the inputs have started coming in, which is really good. I did request that they all be submitted by December 3rd. We didn't quite get there, so but thank you to the people who did already put in their inputs. But I did give them a final date of December 13th, so there's a little more leeway. And I have been in discussions with a couple department heads and more than a couple board chairs, and they all have said that December 13th will be okay. So that's really good news. So thank you for all the support. Yes, ma'am.
So I am the recipient of emails to Forestry and Sustainable Fairfield, and I did not receive an email. But they were on the list. So I'm just checking to make sure. Yeah.
Well, we can ask Jen Carpenter who that went to. I did not. I was going to ask for that today. I was going to ask for the body and the recipient. So we'll check up on that. Thank you for that.
I sent you.
Yes, didn't you see my note? I sent it to Chris. Chris was able to pull some data from your spreadsheet. And then we finalized the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
and sent it off to Jen.
We'll check on that. The next thing, and I think we spoke about this at the last meeting, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought it was a good idea. Well, listen, I think it's a good idea to publicize this commission as much as humanly possible. So I approached the first selectman and I said, listen, I want to put an update in every one of your newsletters anytime there's something substantive to say. So he agreed. So the last newsletter, if you've read it, you would have noticed that there was an update in there for me. And again, I just want to keep it everybody's front of everybody's mind. I want to keep pushing the fact that there's a link for you to go and put your data in, and so again, the first selectman was very generous. He said you can have an update in every newsletter if you want it. So, and I think I'll take advantage of that. And then the last thing, we were talking last time about the CRC group email versus this link, and we've established that we're using the link, and the link has worked amazing. The output is much nicer. I think it forces you to put your name, it forces you to put your address in your email. That's has always been a problem with any communications I've ever had in town government. People will say, here's a bunch of good stuff, and then they don't give their name or their email, and we don't know how to contact them. So thank you very much to the IT director for recommending that, but that is in place. So you'll notice that all of our new agendas no longer say email us at it says contact the commission. And if you were looking at this online like I am, you just click on that, it'll take you right there. So that's it. That's the few updates I had. So thank you for that. Agenda item 4, we have 3 draft minutes to consider. So agenda item 4, to hear, consider, and approve the draft minutes of October 21st, 2021. Are there any comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like my name spelled right.
Good idea.
Having said that, mine is incorrect as well, so.
I never really bother, but on this, I figured I would. So it's Gerard, Gerard. My mother would insist.
I would agree with her. Let me see. Oh, where's Prue? I didn't even think about this.
I think she views the recording if she can't make it.
Oh, okay.
Because the Board of Finance's meeting.
Oh, that's right. There's a Board of Finance meeting tonight. Let me just pull up this, the actual minutes and just see this. So this would be. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Gerard, not Gerald.
Correct.
Gerard. So Prue, please update. I guess this will be for all the meeting minutes. They're all on,
They're all
right?
Consistency is good.
Right, exactly. Commissioner McInerney's name changed from Gerald to Gerard and resubmit that. And just as a side note, my name does have a capital W in it, and there it is. I'm not too worried about it, but if you could, if we're gonna go in anyway, please do that. Any other comments?
Her name is spelled that way.
Your name is spelled right.
It's incorrect it's not as consistent as the error in your name.
There you go. You talk to
It's
her.
an inconsistent error. It is, yes, within the body. So, any other comments?
This is a minor thing, but on the November 19th one.
Oh, we're just talking about, well, I was gonna,
Yes, you're right.
we were
no.
just talking about October 31st, but we're not gonna vote on it because we have changes, so.
Hmm.
But any other let's just go through, any other comments from October? Let me make sure I'm saying this right.
Well, I'd make a motion to allow the draft minutes to have my name spelled improperly to move on the minutes today, and hopefully in the future, my name could be spelled properly.
That would be fine. If you're okay with that, that would be fine.
I'm fine by that.
Okay,
Second that. Oh, you go. I'll second that.
okay, wonderful. So are there any other comments?
Clarifying question related, they can't be posted, the minutes can't be posted until we approve them?
Correct.
Okay.
They're posted in their draft form.
Well, they are posted in the
Yeah.
draft form. Okay, got it.
So if no other comments are, or any other comments, so no more comments. So, motion to approve?
I move
You
to
did make a
approve.
motion.
You did make a motion, sorry. Okay, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you very much. 8-0 on October 21st. November 6th, other than the error in Commissioner McInerney's name, any other comments on November 6th? This was our public forum, yes. Now, just to be 100% clear, there are parts in here where Prue says you have to listen to the recording, which I totally understand. So the minutes are not intended to be a word for word synopsis of exactly what happened. So if there's a more lengthy discussion from a person, the minutes, the video and audio file can be used as a backup. So, but if there's anything egregiously wrong, that's kind of what we're looking for. And any thoughts on November 6th? All right. In a second, thank you. All in favor of approving November 6th meeting minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Great. And lastly, November 19th.
So in item 3, in the last bullet, it says that I said that I wanted a clarification about whether there's a word limit or not, and that was actually Jane. Okay, who made that comment. I said, yes, good idea.
Okay,
So I know it's minor, but we should give credit where credit is due.
okay. So Prue, under item number 3, for when you listen to this, final sentence where it says Karen Wackerman, where it should say Commissioner Wackerman, please change that to Commissioner Biagini. I guess we can prove, so we can't vote on these if there's a,
With the like Jerry did, like
based on,
subject to
based
that
on the
change.
subject to the change.
Yeah.
Any other comments? There was something I had in here. I'm trying to remember what the heck it was. Oh, I know, I wanted to say, so, Commissioner McCann, you were not present at the meeting, so, you can abstain from the vote. We'll have you as an abstain.
Okay,
Yes?
thank you.
All right, so motion to approve with the recommended changes? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Maybe somebody has
Aye.
to.
Oops, I'll second it. Thank you.
Gotta go in
order.
So 701. Commissioner.
You can vote on minutes even if you weren't at the meeting. According to Robert's rule.
Oh.
But I've been-
Oh, I always thought you had abstained, yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, wonderful, thank you for that. Item agenda 7, to hear, consider, and approve a meeting schedule for 2025. So I have a little visual aid. Hopefully this will help. Hopefully I can share. There it is. Let's see if I can put this in slideshow. Okay, so the big green star is our goal line. Our goal has always been to meet at very least twice a month up until that point. The further we get along in this, the seems more aggressive, May 13th. But Jen Carpenter just wanted me to remind everyone, and it was a good reminder for me as well. So if we say we're going to meet on January 7th and January 21st, we can change the meeting. You know, those would be considered regular meetings. If we said January 7th and then somebody said, oh, 5 of us said, oh, we can't make it, we can have a special meeting on January 8th. So this is a placeholders, but if we have to move or if we have to add, we can certainly do that. So this is just to get us kind of close.
So you're saying like Tuesdays?
I'm just using that as an example, but I mean, yeah. So frankly, for me, the 7th and other than the 21st is probably not good. Let's see here. I'm just gonna look at this real quick. January 20 is this 7th and 22nd. I'll just throw it out there. Is that
Works for me.
Good by me.
January 7 and 22? Commissioners McCann and Blanco?
Yeah, I think that should be okay.
Get us close.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are really tough for me only because I'm a land use attorney and every land use commission in the state of Connecticut chooses to meet on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but I'll do my best.
Is Mondays tough for the team?
Twice a month, I have RTM on Mondays.
Yeah. and
Okay,
it's-
okay,
And
got it.
it's tough for me as well, actually.
Okay, got it. Look, I'll do this. I have investment committee on those days, but I'll do my best to join.
With the 9th and 22nd?
Thursday?
Yeah, what about Thursdays?
Yeah. 9th and 22nd? Or 9th and 23rd?
9th, I have my sustainable Fairfield meeting.
I would just.
Yeah,
keep it-
Thursday's fine, just.
I would keep it the way you have it. Just I'm definitely gonna zoom in if I'm not in Connecticut.
Okay,
I don't want to disrupt the patterning.
we can.
Thank you so much though for the accommodation.
Is that always a Thursday, the
Just
sustainable?
That Thursday in the month.
Oh,
It could be any
okay.
other Thursday in the
So
month.
let's talk February. So how about the 6th and 20th?
Yeah, that should be fine for me. And thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
I can do that.
We meet at 7:30 on the 20th, so I can get to the bike ped meeting.
Sure. March. We never meet on the high holy day of St. Patrick's Day, so that's a Monday, so we don't have to worry about that. 6th and 20th? Oops, is that, wow, 6th and 20th is twice, in February and March are Thursdays.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good here.
4 years, right?
Well, that's true.
6th and 20th, perfect.
I'll come clean. I'll be in Las Vegas at the NCAA tournament.
Oh, wow.
So, good for you. I'll give you feedback on how it's going.
Yeah, that'd be fine. April,
So again, the 20th, 7:30 start with, because that's bike ped again.
We talking the 3rd and the 17th?
I was thinking the 3rd and 17th or the 10th and 24th. Hold on, let me see here. The 20th, that would be 2 weeks.
Bike ped meeting.
So April 3rd and 17th?
That works for me.
30th or 17th? It's just
Sure.
those Thursdays or?
3rd and 17th, 7:30. Great. May, so May 13th is the day we are supposed to deliver everything. So the meeting before that, I would imagine would be our cleanup meeting. So we maybe,
Polishing.
well, I was thinking maybe May 1st and May 8th, just to kind of,
Makes sense.
yeah, we can always cancel, right?
Yep.
May 1st and, let's see, May 1st.
May Day.
Yeah, May, exactly. All right.
So I will miss the 8th because I have my sustainable Fairfield.
Yeah, I think that's,
Unless like.
if we're not wrapped up by the 8th of May, we got a whole lot of other problems. So,
That's right.
so the dates as I've recorded them are January 7th and 22nd, 7 o'clock, January 6th and February 6th, 7 o'clock, February 20th, 7:30, March 6th and 20th at 7 o'clock, April 3rd, 7 o'clock, April 17th, 7:30, May 1st and May 8th, 7 p.m.
So there's only 2 7:30s. Everything else is, there's 3?
What were the
February
others?
20th, March 20th.
Oh, I missed the mark.
Oh, I didn't get March 20th either, sorry.
Those either.
Okay.
Those are all bike ped.
I can ask to put the beginning of the agenda, but.
Okay, perfect. So I don't think we have to take a vote, but those are the dates, right? Perfect, all right. That'll make Jen Carpenter very happy because she keeps asking me about it, so wonderful, thank you for that.
Can I ask, because the town clerk always says, January, you have to have your officers, and I know we have our officers, do we have to like renew that for January with?
My understanding is because this is it's like on the website, this is a fixed time frame, a commission, and there's one election of officers. It's not like an annual thing like the RTM or the Board of Finance.
We don't want to change it, but just to be official if she wants it.
I don't believe it's necessary, but I guess if we can do that on our January 1st.
I may, as a commission, chair myself, if you let Jen and the town clerk know, whenever you change a time or a date, it'll get on the town calendar as well as your website. Yeah, we're very good at that.
Yes, she is.
So Chairman, do it a clarifying question. So I think I can make all these, but who knows, things change. And so if we do have comments, do we just send them to you and the vice chair then previous to the meeting? Because we don't know
Yes.
what we're gonna talk about.
Sure.
So we should just send comments to you.
Right, so if you're unavailable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was doing the agenda, you know, we're talking about three very specific groups this evening, right? I don't want to make it so rigid. I mean, maybe we need to have an agenda item that says anything else that we want to talk about, because if we talk about how we notify the RTM tonight, I don't want everyone to think, well, oh, can't ever go back and talk about that again. So I'll do that. I'll put an agenda item just to go backwards, you know. Anybody had any further comments based on the last week, the last 2 weeks? So.
I wonder, I don't know what the rule is, but I know with the RTM, we vote on our dates for the coming year. Should we just as an exercise of caution, vote on this?
Sure, why not?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so I make a motion that the dates for 2025 Charter Revision Commission are January 7th and 22nd at 7 p.m.
The 7th or the 9th, was it?
7th, we didn't change it, yes.
7th and the 22nd, yeah.
And the 22nd, February 6th, 7 p.m., February 20th, 7:30, March 6th, 7 p.m., March 20th, 7:30, April 3rd, 7 p.m., April 17th, 7:30, May 1st and 8th, 7 p.m. Someone like to second that? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of those dates for 2025 for the Charter Revision Commission, say aye.
Aye.
I,
All right, thank you. Can't hurt the vote, right?
Right.
Good. Okay. Agenda item 8. Discussion on Charter Revision Commission topic category process. So for the public, we have a document that is in our shared website, and the commissioners have in front of them. And that document has a category in column A. And we've decided to, so the process is when we receive inputs, Commissioner, I have such a hard name with your last name. Trechik, thank you, has taken the task of taking all of those inputs and grouping them into categories. And what we're going to do is every meeting, we're going to tackle a different category. So if you're following along, you'll see on the backup on the website, there'll be 3 categories: ethics, notice, and process. And this first one we're going to speak about is, let me share my screen. Should just keep sharing the screen. And we're on process. We are on. But what you? Ooh, is that me?
Oh, you have to mute.
I am muted.
Maybe Brian or Dan has to mute. I know, because Dan just muted.
Okay, is that better?
Much better.
Oh, good, okay. Great. So let me try to make it a little bit bigger for everyone. So I know we're slogging through this a little bit, but. So under the category of process, we've received. It looks like 8 inputs. And these inputs are here. Do we want to bring up each of the inputs to review, or have we looked at these and want to have a discussion?
Personally, I think some of them are very clear where we don't need to bring up the backup, and sometimes the questions will be helpful to bring up the backup.
Yes.
Like, we've already done the.
Yeah.
You've already done the first one, although it sounds like we have to confirm that it was done correctly, but.
Right.
Yeah, so there's
Right.
not really a need.
So the first input from Ms. Harrison's email just said, please make sure that you speak to all of the town leaders, all the commissioners, all of the board leaders, and make sure you request their input, which has been fulfilled. So you're absolutely right. Ballot questions. There hasn't been a lot of comments. Now, this ballot question is in regard to the fact that the last Charter Revision Commission failed. And I don't want to speculate on why it failed or not, but some people have been critical of the fact that they had an omnibus question that said, you know, how do you like all our inputs? And it was not well received, and it didn't pass. So
Isn't this moot though? We don't determine
We
the
don't
questions.
determine it. Yeah, it's not our purview.
well, who does determine the questions?
Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a moot point. I mean, we can make recommendations. I think that was First Selectmen's, he did ask us. I don't know if it's in the official note or not, maybe he's asking personally, but yes, I guess it is a moot point. Sorry, Commissioner Blanco?
No, nothing to add.
CRC objectives. Publish a set of objectives we hope to accomplish. This. I am, especially in business, very much like to have objectives and goals. My opening monologue from the first meeting, an overview to say, you know, we have some goals. Is there any thoughts about setting our objective? I mean, other than the fact that we're trying to, I think for our objectives, one thing is we have to recommend a charter that is going to get passed, right? Which to me means that it's in the best interest of all taxpayers and all of them feel included. Their comments have felt like they were included. We were inclusive, and that if we didn't include it, at least we had a good discussion and had a good reason why we didn't include it. So other than that, I don't know what, we could write 1,000 objectives. I guess I
think,
put that
like,
out.
for instance, Commissioner Biagini wants to make sure that ethics policy is in line with the charter, and it's not now, I believe. And I talked about how the town code and the town charter aren't in line with each other, so that's my hope to get these alignments.
To have the charter kind of reflect what reality is.
True.
It's part of it, it's a little different.
Does anybody have the original charge that we swore to uphold? Because that would be
So,
I mean, like the 30-second. like
yeah.
that?
Well, I mean, if you
I'm gonna say no.
funny you say that.
Oh,
Resolve that pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7190, paragraph A, the Board of Selectmen as the appointing authority of the Charter Revision Commission is required to specify the deadline. Okay, that doesn't help.
That's it. So we have to be done by May 13th.
Yeah, we gotta be done by May 13th, so I guess that's,
I mean, personally, I would love it if we did, but also I think that would require significant discussion among the group. Jerry talks a lot about streamlining, simplifying, which makes sense, but we should probably debate that if that were going to be, and do we want to spend the time to do that now?
right. Or just see
Or-
how it plays out, sort of.
Exactly, because I think we all probably have slightly different ideas on what the particular objectives might be. But I think, to me, and it kind of builds on Commissioner Hoag's comment around like, let's make sure our objective should be we address, not necessarily agree, but we address all the comments we get as best we can.
yeah. I mean, both of your objectives, as they were just stated, are great objectives. But I think what we're talking about here is the kind of the big objective.
Simplification and
Right.
efficiency.
And I mean,
more input.
addressing everyone's input has got to be an objective, right?
which you've already done by seeking the input of the boards and commissioners. And
by having a public session.
by having a public session, and when we get to the point of ethics or anything else, those are gonna be addressed as we bring them up.
Right.
It's almost not an objective, it's part of our mandate because ethics is in the charter.
Mhm.
If you start to write out a laundry list, well, you're gonna invite comment that will result in a never-ending comment.
Mhm.
That's just my view of the world. I was taught not to say anything unless you have to say something.
There's nothing wrong with that. Any thoughts from our commissioners online?
No, I think that's a valid point. I think the other thing, what you said before, Chair DeWitt, is that alignment and understanding kind of where we need to be at that time. I think you're right. Especially given that we have to be done right around, middle of May.
I mean, I would say probably two objectives, one, that we, thoughtfully consider, all the input, or our best to go to review all the input, but the second is we do our best to deliver a charter that we believe can pass.
Mhm.
Yep.
That we may make decisions along the way that, hey, this would be great to do. However, the reality is it's going to make it much more difficult to get this thing through. And let's be maybe comfortable with half a loaf in some cases than trying to get it all done and fail at the ballot box.
I'm happy to publish two objectives: thoroughly address all comments given to the commission and deliver a charter that can pass. Maybe I can wordsmith that a little bit. I think those are wonderful. They're high enough. As I said, I don't want to go through this whole thing once again, and I'm not giving inputs to Person Eckland's newsletter and all these other things and having all these public meetings so that it can fail again, right? So, okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Brown, for that comment. Recommend using the 22 revisions as a foundation.
So just to
Yeah.
clarify, are you going to then publish those, I guess? in the
I'll
minutes,
publish
or-
them and then we can I'll put them
Okay.
on the website.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Just a comment, what I'm trying to do also in this document, this is not the live one, but I'm just keeping it really short, like, hey, yes, we discussed
Yes,
it. and-
please. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you, because I'm not doing that. The first selectman's comments, which we do have to address formally in writing.
Yeah.
Recommends that we use the 22 revision as the foundation of the process. Now, the real foundation of the process is the existing charter, as we've spoken about. I like to say that the 22 revision is a guideline. And I was speaking to one of the department heads today, and they were asking me, so if I gave inputs into the 2022 charter revision and they wrote up everything perfectly, what should I say to you guys? And I'm like, you can either give me the input you gave to the charter commission, or you could say the 22 revision, paragraph 1, subsection B, subsection 1 is written absolutely perfectly. I wouldn't change a word. And because that document is a reference document.
I would
So-
also have concerns that, and Judy had brought this up. I don't know that anybody's officially compared the existing charter to the 2022 revised charter to make sure there were no inadvertent omissions. And I
Yes.
think Judy did point out something regarding bonds.
Oh, yeah, a huge miss, actually.
I would have concerns starting with a document that hasn't been thoroughly vetted as to if there's anything else missing.
Did you say at our last meeting, Chris, that Jason Bucksbaum suggested we work with a red line?
Yes.
So that way we could see what it was and what it became, and we probably see
Yeah.
that.
Better one.
I think that's the best
Yeah.
solution.
The red line, though, Attorney Mednick, I asked for the official red line,
Mm,
and he didn't have it any longer. But he said, well, he goes, the document's completely different.
mm,
So it's not like,
this is true.
it's not like you took this document and changed 10 words from He says, this thing turned into 150 pages.
Right, and I
So it's really hard to use the red line document.
True.
So I think that's,
And that was a problem as I was putting together the ethics spreadsheet for tonight, and I was trying to illustrate what the existing charter is versus the changes. It's a completely different document format, everything, so it's very difficult. But I do think somebody probably should tick and tie both.
yeah, so,
Just, Commissioner,
yes,
DeWitt,
please,
Chairman.
Commissioner Blanco.
Yeah, I think that was one of the initial, I know, Commissioner Treshik also opined this. I think the source document, just we need to be really sure what it is. I've read now the charter, the original chart in the red line. I agree with the other commissioners. It's a little confusing on the ethics. You're right. Especially just given what source document we're going to use on it going forward. I think if you look at the original intent, it's 100% change. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
Right. So I don't want to go the jumping off point should be really clear. Right. And I think that comment about ticking and tying is really good.
Yes, so it might have been our first meeting. I did ask Attorney Piers that if someone had done that comparison document, and I did not get a sufficient answer. Then Ms. Ewing came through and said, and I had all intent on going through her kind of ticking and tying, see kind of for myself, and I'd have a chance to do it. But the fact that she found that one thing is really
And
concerning.
that was a glaring.
And that's a
omission.
huge, let me tell you something, a huge miss, right? A huge miss. So I'll ask Attorney Piers once again to make sure to get some satisfaction, maybe from Attorney Mednick. But this is, and again, this is a recommendation from our first selectman. The one thing I will say about the 2022 revision is I really like the format. I like the way there's a glossary, there's table of contents, there's all that. I mean, I hate the footnotes. I'll say it right now. I think they're unnecessary because once that thing's signed, nobody cares what it was before.
That's right.
You could find this online and do it yourself, right? But I gotta tell you, when I, as a Board of Finance guy, I would go through each page and try to figure it out. It's so much nicer, the 2022 version. So I definitely do not want to discount that by any means. But I think the foundation document is the 2006 document. And I'd like to, when people ask me, my response is the 2022 document is a good reference document for a lot of good reasons. If for nothing else, just format.
It's very long. It would be great to not have it be that long, but
It-
I don't
it
even know
is
yet what we
long.
would cut, but yeah.
It is long, and I guess, yeah, I don't know, I mean, I've read the whole thing, and I don't find sections overly verbose, but I mean, this is 30 pages. I mean, I think, right, 30 pages, 40 pages? And 52 pages, sorry, 52 pages, and that one's 120 pages.
Yeah.
So something got added, right?
Simplifying is appealing, right?
Right.
As Jerry's been saying, but yeah, I don't know what would go out, but it's something to think about as we go through, I think.
Yeah. So going forward, the base document's the 2006 document, and the 2022 revision is a, we can call it, I hate to use it as a foundation doc, but a reference document.
And what is the question we're posing to the town attorney as it relates to the 2022 document?
So,
It's the tick and tying.
yes,
Make sure
the
anything.
question that's already been posed, which is gonna be reiterated, is, did someone do a comparison of every item in this document in some way made it in some form to the other document?
And that's what I'm coming back to. Did someone do a comparison? Did you do a comparison? If you're the town attorney, did you do a comparison? If you didn't do a comparison, did you give that task to someone else to do a comparison? And what is the outcome of it? Because quite frankly, Judy Ewing has already discovered that you missed something.
Right.
So I'm just trying to find out where the buck stops. Because this commission shouldn't have the responsibility of having 8 people make a decision that the 2022 document is in compliance with the original charter or includes the provisions.
Correct.
So we call the question
Mhm,
to
Right.
somebody.
right.
Right.
It's also possible that, it doesn't sound like this is a good example of that, but that sometimes things didn't make it into the new one because they're not necessary or they're out of date. This doesn't sound like it's that situation.
You and I would both not agree that
Yeah,
that would
yeah.
be something that would have been missed, right?
Yeah, it just goes back to the ticking and time. I think Jerry, you and I had that conversation on the first meeting.
Yeah.
What's our source document? What are we comparing it to? Right? I read operating agreements all the time. I need to see a reference document, what we changed, and more importantly, why was it changed?
Mhm,
Right? Because if it was changed for a reason, I'd like to understand the reason in total transparency, so all of us can have a sense and say, hey, that was good, or hey, maybe we have to think about it. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
The footnotes to the 2022 can be helpful for that, I think.
Ye-
Don't put them in the final version.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. I agree with you. So, I'm gonna reach out to Attorney Pierce and he can maybe even assign it to Attorney Bushbaum if that makes more sense. And I will also supply the document, the unofficial document that Ms. Ewing did, even though I checked 3 things the other day, just ran 3 random things and they were spot on.
Mm,
Whatever was in here was tabulated and correlated back to whatever Judy said it was gonna be. The words weren't exactly the same, but the intent of what was in that old document did make it to the document. So, but it does need to come from someone official, which is a good point.
Yeah.
We can't, as much as I trust Ms. Ewing, we just can't make her the
Not
authority.
fair.
It's not fair, exactly.
No, that's why
You told me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why you have the attorney peers.
right.
So, Chair DeWitt, I agree with where we're going. Just a question, clarification from a process. For the topics that we were required to discuss, do we have to take a vote or something like that? Or do we just discuss it? I'm kind of curious how it.
Well, my understanding is that the last Charter Revision Commission did not take what I would call sensitive body votes,
Okay.
intermediate sensitive body votes, right? And I also understood, and if anyone out there wants to correct me, please do, that there were, near the end of the process, there was a little bit of he said, she said, I don't think I remember it that way. So what I'd like to do is when we get through a substantive point, is say that, tonight, if we say we're gonna completely get rid of the ethics, we're never gonna have an ethics policy in the town of Fairfield ever again, we would take a sensitive body and say, yep, we all agree with that and have that recorded. Just as a,
Yeah.
doesn't mean we can't address it again,
Right.
but as we go through, I can tell you right now, I know I'm not gonna remember all these votes, right? But we should at least have Prue keep in our meeting minutes, sensitive body votes to get us through the process. We all agree with that? Makes sense?
Yes.
Makes sense.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, so the next recommendation was same genre, different approach. Ms. Braun, Ms. Griffin, who we've heard from a lot, and I don't know who Ms. or Mr. Jacobs is, but they recommend using the current 2006 charter as the foundation for the process. So I think we beat this to death. I think we would all agree that this is the only thing we got right now, and that the 2022 document is a great reference document. And not saying that it won't look exactly like that at the end, and I love the way it's put together, but it's not the reference document. Let's see. Oh, this is from, speaking of Ms. Ewing, using cross-reference of 2006 and 2022, ensure a 10-year review. Oh, so this one, I was kind of hoping she was here tonight because I didn't understand if she meant we have to write the charter, because it's a state statute that you have to do this every so many years, right? Which we violated, by the way. I don't know if she meant write it in the charter that you have to revise the charter every 10 years, because I think that doesn't make any sense because it's governed by a state statute. So I was a little confused by that. Did anyone else?
I think it might have just been like urging the town to do that, maybe, I think that was my sense
okay.
of what she said, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and I found one missing section in the cross-reference, which is absolutely true. So, yeah, and this gets back to having an advocate, right? So my last year and a half of the Board of Finance, I was advocating for a brand new purchasing policy. And at times I was the only one advocating for it because it was a huge task. Without an advocate, these things kind of go by the wayside, you know? Frankly, I think the advocate for this charter revision has always got to be with the first selectman and or the Board of Selectmen. They cannot let this go. What has it been, 18 years? Without having, it'll be 19 years if we're lucky enough to pass it next year. But it needs an advocate. And I think that advocate has got to be the Board Selectman and or the first selectman. So point well taken.
Without the statute in front of me, is it that the town shall have a 10-year review? Is it that the town should have a 10-year review? Is there any history that anyone's aware of? Is this the first time we failed to have a 10-year review? Is this an outlier? And the other question I would have is are you only compelled to have a review, or do you have to redo the charter?
Great questions, and I don't know the exact
I'm good
statute.
with questions. I don't have answers.
I do know the statute very clearly says you have to, I don't know if it's shall or would or should or whatever, you know, but, and it, I think it is 10 years. Right?
It is 10 years.
Yeah. I don't know if it says, you know, but I do think you have to have a review. So it's not every 10 years, you don't have to open it up and change one word just to satisfy the statute. I think that's correct. But
you have to have a charter revision commission created every 10 years to
yes.
review the charter.
Yeah.
Is probably what you have to do.
So you know what, I will engage our attorney on that.
Chair DeWitt, does it make sense to have the attorney at the next meeting?
Couldn't hurt.
I mean, but for those that are attorneys at the table, I'm not, but maybe it does make sense to have a parlay with them a little bit. What do you think, Jerry?
It's always good to get an answer.
If we have
Yeah.
enough questions for him, can't hurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a handful. And if,
Oh.
and again, not to beat a dead horse, and I've had this conversation offline with Chairman DeWitt, and he's been great about it. If there's statutory requirements that we cannot change, those have to be enumerated immediately, right? Because we can't vote on something that's
Right.
abrogating statute. And that's what that's kind of been my concern, you know, from the beginning, right? I just want to make absolutely certain. I know Commissioner Treshik's done a wonderful job with, you know, correlating all the inputs. I wanted to tell you that. It was fantastic. So at the same time, we should also have something that says, hey, these 10 things you can't change no matter what you want to do. To
Right.
Commissioner McInerney's point about shall or should or would.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, knowing that we were talking about process tonight, I probably should have just invited our town attorney. Our assistant, you know.
No worries, Chair.
But yes, so we can definitely have him next time and we can get the exact wording of the state statute for sure. Not a problem. The next comment is go slow. And
Yeah, you want to be heard on that?
I've read, yeah. Bill Gerber, you want to have a comment on that? Yeah. I agree with the opening statement, which is be thoughtful, which I think we can be thoughtful and expedient. I've read both these emails multiple times because I wanted to make sure I understood this, you know. I understand the thought behind it. The last commission, it was over a year of work. They had a little bit different approach, and frankly, they didn't have the benefit we have of of a document, especially format wise, that we can use. So I would respectfully say we should, especially since we just voted on our next 5 months of meetings, we should stick with the process. If we come to a point, maybe midway next year, 2-3 months in, and we've gone through 2 pages of this, maybe we need to extend a deadline. Now, the other thing is I also looked at and if you haven't looked at it, it's worth a look. There's a whole revision timeline that was supplied to us. And I gotta tell you, a whole lot of stuff has to happen after May 13th. Including it's got to go to the Board of Selectmen. They have to have time to digest it. Then they get to make comments. Then it goes to the RTM, and then, so these are not, these bodies don't meet every day. These bodies meet sometimes once a month. So to get on the ballot for, November, whatever the election day is in 2025. Sounds like a long time from May 13th to November 5th or whatever it's gonna be, but man, we can waste that time like that. So as much as I appreciate the comments about going slow and understand the meaning, I think we've got a goal and a charter right now. We gotta plow ahead on that. Anyone else agree or disagree with that?
Agreed.
Thank you. And probably is similar, and this is from Ms. Braun, and this was also in Ms. Griffin's email. More meetings, surveys, etc. Please consider regular output communications to the general public. So I think having the newsletter is good. It's not a 5-page document. I'm not going to go through and say, here's exactly what we've done. I'm trying to keep it with under a couple paragraphs so people will actually read it. So we did take that step. More meetings, we just voted on our meeting. But we asked a lot of people, and I think that was quite a comprehensive list, and we had different inputs, and I appreciate all the inputs. I might change my mind if on December 13th, we only get 2 more inputs, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we've asked a lot of people, and I think once we're going to get a lot more data since, Thanksgiving's over, and people are going to get back into we received 3 today. And one of them was from our select person, Vitali, which I think was really important. And she called me this weekend, and I said, I really want to be able to save that meeting. And she said, I'll get it to you today. So I appreciate Christine's input. And I spoke to Chairperson Charlton today, and she's going to get our inputs too. So there's some big hitters that they're putting in the comments. So I'd like to think the intent of this question has been met through some of the efforts we've done the last couple of weeks.
Sorry, they mentioned surveys, and that is something we could do electronically, but what would we ask? Just do you have a concern with the charter? I don't know what we would ask,
Surveys are, I'm a sales guy, and I took a class in surveys, and asking the wrong question in a survey is a death blow. We would ask, what would you like to have this feature in your aircraft? Everybody, yeah. Would you like it if it cost you $1 million? Well, no, because it was free, of course, right? So yeah, I'm a big fan of surveys, but I don't know what we'd ask.
I don't either, really.
I mean, what do you like about the current charter? That would be a great one, maybe. Then it forces you to find something good in the document. And then I guess how would we dispatch it? I mean, like a Survey Monkey, and then put a link on the website.
And you can't really control if people are repeating, right? But I guess it doesn't have to be scientifically correct. It's more input.
Yeah.
One suggestion I would make, though, is that we do have another public meeting. In addition to the one we're required to have. We're required to have, by the way, we probably should schedule that. We probably should identify that. We're required to have a public meeting before the May 13th.
Yes.
Essentially sharing our finished product.
Correct.
But I do think it would be great if we could have one in early March or something like that.
March-ish, yeah.
To share at a conceptual level, kind of the key, revisions we're talking about making and start to build support, but also gather feedback. And are there ones that are particularly contentious or maybe things we haven't thought about?
Yeah. March might be a really good time to get everyone in the big room and say, here's what we've done so far. You know, we've received 800 emails or 800 inputs, let's hope. And we've done this much work and we think we're 50% through the document, so, yeah, I know I was thinking about that when I was thinking about the meeting schedule. And I specifically didn't want to put that in there because I wanted to have the discussion. I think we should have one more public comment. I'm a little apprehensive. My only apprehension, and again, maybe it's because I scheduled it poorly the day after the election, but I was really hoping that it was going to be just mobbed that night, and it wasn't. And I understood the last time they did this, the initial one was a mobsy, which is good. They had a lot of people.
Maybe they feel like they got it out already, like
Yeah.
the staff that asked, do we need to resubmit,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I think if you take the total population, you say, how many people actually know a charter revision's happening? It probably goes from 100% to like 30% know it's actually happening. And maybe another 10% are like, oh, I get my input the last time. So maybe there's 20% of people that really still want to give their inputs, right?
I think those numbers are way out of whack.
That's
think so?
high, yeah.
It's very high.
I think you're about.
I'm an optimist, I guess, yeah. Should I be in single digits?
I walk my dog every day. I don't think anybody in the neighborhood knows that there's a charter revision.
Yeah.
So if we want to get people to resubmit something they've submitted for the prior revision, then maybe you could say that in the newsletter article.
If we're all new people, we don't know what's commented on, that's
Because people,
That's a,
people would assume I did it already.
it's a good point.
We're not required to only have one more public meeting, correct?
We
Our
are
requirement
required.
is only one more.
We could have more than one.
Yes, have as many as you want.
Yes.
An interesting idea. If we progress in the next 3 meetings and we have recommendations that we have kind of formalized on our own, do we want to run up a flag and see what we get back?
Exactly, and that's my point, that at some point, whether that's, maybe it's late January then, but some point Jan, Feb, March, that we do something like that.
And I mean, like easy topics, like we're addressing ethics. We're
Mhm.
going to address public notice. We're going to address things that at least if we can formulate what we want the charter to do, you have a test case. You throw one out there, put it out there, see what people come back with, see what kind of response, and maybe you awaken that 30% you think is there, and 6 people show up. So.
I like that, and we also publicize what's still to come,
Yeah,
so people know we are going to talk about these other topics.
I mean, it could be a worth.
But I mean, the key is another meeting, I think, for the
Yeah.
public, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah,
We don't have to decide when yet.
right. Yeah, that's the reason I didn't want to bring it up during the meeting selection portions.
But the one thing is also the budget timeframe. So if you go much past March, then it becomes
It's tight.
crazy budget time.
Mhm.
You would know.
Budget, oh.
So we probably do want to stay closer to March than April, May, because that's where it's just nonstop. No one's gonna think about anything but budget.
Mhm.
You know, the Board of Finance does a town session at Ludlow High School every year, usually the week before we would vote on the budget. Maybe we can slide in on that. Sometimes there are 5 people there, sometimes there are 100 people. I mean, it depends on how onerous or how, if there's anything, if you're gonna close the school or something, there'll be 800 people there. If it's not, you might get Fairfield, I can't think of their name right now. But public interest groups to want to talk about, I don't think any tax increase is good, so. But that's a good point. March is, everybody's wrapped up in.
But would people, so you combine the Board of Finance meeting with the.
Well, I'm thinking maybe
That would be hard,
you
right?
could do it afterwards.
Yeah, like if you stay, you
If you
can.
got a group of people, you wouldn't mind staying another half an hour, the Charter Revision Commission would like to pick your brain for half an hour, and some people would stay and some people wouldn't, but
I think that's a long,
I
Day.
think that's long.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
the
don't-
meetings are not that long.
They're tough though, Saturday mornings usually, right? So people are like getting to soccer games. But it's where
I
you
tell
get out.
people 364 other days out of the year, I don't wanna know anything you wanna say, so come out that one day and, give me your input. Jokingly, of course,
Yeah.
but, so,
That's worth asking.
yeah. Utilizing the patch, I don't know, I mean, is the,
I think that's up to the town communicator. I think,
They read the newsletter and they'll pick up stuff out of the newsletter and we're not to tell, you don't have to tell them, right? So. We have to chase them, they'll find it.
yeah. I also think, and I spoke to Bill Gurr about this, the other day, I'd like to go to at least 2 Board of Selectmen meetings in person between now and May, and just give a kind of what's going on with the Charter Revision of it. And I didn't know what he said that would be great. I want it out in the public. So if no one's watching this, maybe they're watching Bill Gerber's and they're like, oh, wow, there's a Charter Revision Commission. Something's happening,
If you wanted to go to the RTM meeting too,
Feel right,
you'd be welcome, I'm sure. And
Okay.
because I've asked Marcy, the moderator, if I could speak at the next meeting at the end to just say, everybody should be giving us your ideas, just to kind of ask them, the representative.
What's your next meeting?
Mondays are committee meetings, so what's a week from Monday? It's early, like December 12th or something.
Okay,
So yeah, and Marcy would certainly,
okay,
16th, that sounds right.
perfect.
So maybe we use the Board of Selectmen meeting to do a test case. To take some portions instead of a public hearing. Take it at that opportunity, publicize it, let the newsletter know it's coming.
Yeah.
Present what we've done so far and see what kind of feedback we get.
Stress use of the form.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's almost
I
like,
like it.
that's like piggybacking the finance meeting. You get
right,
at least a captured group.
right.
You give notice that you're gonna talk about a topic and
Yep.
then test the waters to see what people think.
Yep.
Opportunity.
We have to sell this. This isn't gonna pass without being sold. It's gotta get out there. Okay. That's it. Any other thoughts on process? This was a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of great inputs, and I want to thank everyone who gave us inputs, especially on this topic. This was a good one to start with, because if we screw a process, everything else is gonna be screwed up, right? So this is a good way to get us kind of foundationally correct. And I guess and it's not quite what the agenda, how I had set up the agenda, but if anyone is online and would like to make a comment on the process, I'd allow that now, or in the room. I only see one other person, so 257-9679. If you don't have anything to say, then we can move on. Okay, sir, do you have any thoughts on process?
One of the reasons I'm here is because I'm a commission chair myself, and I wanted to see,
Commission?
I'm in Solid Waste and Recycling Commission. Tim Besler's my name.
Oh, we received some input from you. Thank you very much.
I sent, we sent an input, and I just wanted to be here and attend the meeting, and I'm as a commission chair, I'm very impressed with what you're doing so far, especially with sharing your computer and showing things that you're talking about. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think I'm very impressed.
Well, you could stay.
Yeah, right. I was just getting ready to throw him out, and then he comes up with that, so. Okay, great. Agenda item 9 is to discuss CRC topic notice. So this one is a little more process driven, right? Notice here.
Filter, by the way.
Yes, and I've got the 3 filtered for tonight.
Okay.
Just to.
Okay.
But thank you, yes. So,
Can I
yes, please.
ask for, and I may be jumping ahead of you because you're gonna introduce it, but I think we need the attorney to clarify for us what's required because you know, I think we talked at the last meeting about how a lot of other towns also say it has to be in newspapers and then somebody looked at a statute.
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Right,
Yeah.
my legal research was Google, but yes, it is. And also, as I mentioned, Representative McCarthy Vahey had mentioned that there was a law. I think though, from the interns research, there's opportunity to leverage Hamden's language, which simplifies essentially, hey, go electronic, except if you're required to do more by law. I mean, they said, where public notice in addition to other modes of availability requires posting on the town website or through other electronic media, and only requires posting in a newspaper if practical or if otherwise required by law.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to get the attorney to like bless that and write conforming language. But I think if we took the core idea of the town clerk's suggestions to say, hey, shift to electronic media, as long as allowed by law, then I think that would be a great improvement. And then
Right.
if the legislature is successful in changing that, then
Mm-hmm.
we can then simplify it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had forgotten about Representative McCarthy Vahey telling us that this is a law, it has to be in the newspaper. Because I was looking today at all of these communities that require this thing to be posted in the newspaper. I'm like, I can't believe it's 2024, all these communities have to have it in a widely distributed newspaper. I couldn't believe it, but that makes more sense. But you're right, so this is the good work that our summer intern did for us, I believe.
I just wanted to mention though that the town clerk mentioned to me last night at another meeting that there's something in the statute that allows for sending it, putting it on the website instead of a newspaper. And so I just want to have the lawyer clarify because then maybe we
So-
don't even have to mention a newspaper, but I don't
The
know.
language you just read.
Well, essentially,
That's what the language you just read.
right, the Hamden, the one that's in yellow there on the screen, broadly like that.
No, that's good language. I'm just.
It's something
curious
along the
what-
lines that if,
But I think they say widely distributed newspaper, so if we don't have a widely
Right.
distributed newspaper, we aren't required by
It
law.
varies across if you've looked at this document, it says things like daily newspaper, and it says having circulation in multiple towns. Oh, now, Trumbull's interesting, it says newspaper
No, I
having
mean,
circulation and on the town website.
Right,
The
that's what
statute
we
says
need.
widely distributed.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Well, then
say. don't
we
have that.
probably need the attorney to give us that input as well,
And
right?
it may be that language in Hamden is perfect anyway, but
oh yeah,
I'm
we need an
curious
attorney
what it.
review, no
Yeah, I
question.
just wonder what it actually says, you know.
I'm assuming under the Hamden language, there are certain things that are required to have public notice in the newspaper, like a probate hearing or thing like that. So there are gonna be some enumerated things that you must have a public notice in the newspaper. And anything else, you can then drop back and use social media. That's what the Hamden statute would tell you, right?
Let me just get back to I just wanna make sure I don't. Here. So we do have a specific info from the town clerk that we have to address. And I think I have that.
Are we able to address that without the attorney here? Yeah, I think we need to know what the statute says, just.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanna have, just
I
see
guess
what.
my question would be, could we understand the sense of this commission to understand are we in favor of broadly adopting the town clerk's recommendations? However, subject to the attorney ensuring the conforming language that it conforms with state law.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, or do we disagree? Like, no, we actually think we should continue to put the newspaper.
I think it's I think that's right. I think that's right, Commissioner Treshik. It
Yeah.
goes back to putting everything through that statute strainer. Right, to make sure that we're ticking in time.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, we could just see if everyone agrees. We don't, if we can say you don't have to put it in newspaper, do we agree with that? And
Right.
I guess we all do.
I'll go on record as saying I think it's the most ridiculous thing in 2024, when most people don't even have newspapers. I think my kids have picked up a newspaper once in their life, right? Especially as we migrate that way, that just makes absolutely no sense. And we've got websites and emails and 30 other ways of communicating, which is a more efficient way of communicating, as far as I'm concerned, that I would be in favor of not having to have it in a newspaper.
So is that a sense of the body?
We could take a sense of that. Well, so, okay. What would, so I guess I make a motion. So I'll make a motion that, for a sense of the body, that the requirement for public notice in a newspaper should be removed from the charter.
If it's allowed to
If
be.
it's
If it's allowed to be by, you know.
By statute.
Right.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So we're all in regards to the one topic, for Betsy's, we're certainly all in agreement. So when we bring Attorney Bushbaum or Attorney Pierce here next time, we can get that clear. Is it Buxbaum?
Buxbaum.
Thank you, sorry.
only because I used to work with them.
Oh, got it. Thank you very much. I don't remember what
And I think,
the moderator's email, I think it was the similar comments. So hold on.
yeah, she didn't.
Hold on, I have the technology here right in front of me, so I should just use it. So,
Hey, Chris,
yes, sir.
there definitely are statutory requirements for some boards to publish in a newspaper and have
Yes,
a general
okay.
circulation in the municipality, so you're just gonna want to be careful of that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Also, just another comment, there is no requirement for a 10-year review for a charter.
There is not.
I couldn't.
No.
find-
I thought I didn't
So
know.
what is the language, Brian?
CD has.
You
it.
know,
There's no time.
there's no time.
There's
So-
no time where you,
so-
I think that one of the newspaper articles that I read online said it's good practice to review your charter every 10 years, but who cares what
So,
a
so
newspaper
Brian, was
thinks
this,
about it.
Brian,
Ah.
there's no statute for it, Brian, then it was just gestated by the good practice policy then.
I mean, it is good practice, but you know, if you have a charter that works, I mean, there's no reason to fix it if it ain't broken, right?
That's right, yeah.
Like the Constitution.
But it probably should be reviewed periodically, even if you don't change it, just to see if it still works, I would think. But
That
it
would
may,
make
yeah,
sense.
whether it's required or not is.
So, so maybe Ms. Ewing's comments is to memorialize that time frame in the actual charter, which I would not be against, frankly, because, you know, I don't want to speak for everyone in Fairfield Town government, but I think everyone would say that our charter today has a lot of things in it that are really antiquated. So now, were they antiquated 2 years ago or 10 years ago? I don't know. I think personally they are today. And so I guess we could consider adding that as a memorializing the, you know, a language that says, but thank you for that, Commissioner McCann.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, one reason why, I mean, I work with a few towns and, you know, I work with one town that doesn't have a charter, just for a little perspective. But, one thing that I noted from the charter, and I think Chris said something about it, the amount of material earlier. I mean, I personally agree. I think that the charter, the current charter is just way overkill. Now, there's no reason why you couldn't have a charter that's incredibly comprehensive, but one of the things that you'll face in doing so is that you'll have provisions become outdated or antiquated, right? Like a lot of towns will accomplish much of what's accomplished in Fairfield's charter through a code of ordinances, which does not need a vote of the legislative body in order to start a commission and publish hearings and go through this whole process to amend. Just one thing that we may want to consider. There are certainly some things like a code of ethics is not commonly found in a charter. It's usually found in the code.
And that's.
Town code,
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things that are in our charter that are commonly found in a code. Like if you go to one point of reference, and Phil can talk about this, or Jason could talk about this at next meeting, but if you go to the general statutes and you look at 7-193, it's the only section in the entire title, chapter 99, which states required provisions. And it's only 3 very, very short paragraphs.
wow.
It basically says a municipality shall have a legislative body, a municipality shall have a chief executive officer, and it shall have offices, departments, commissions, boards. And that's what the statutes require for a charter. We have, 90 pages. So it is what it is. I'm not saying it's bad, but it has the propensity to become antiquated or outdated.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more a document references another document,
Yeah.
just causes, that other document changes and you've referenced it. Now all of a sudden your document's antiquated, right?
Agreed.
I know we went through this with the purchasing policy. Rather than saying state statute says this, you say, go to the state statute 4.1 and look it up. Because it changes 35 times, we have to change 35 times. So, yeah, that's another good thing. We should really make sure that we're not quoting any other documents here that are independent of this document, including the town code. Well, if there's something in the town code, it shouldn't be duplicated here. It should be referenced to the town code. The town code says you have to have a code of ethics, right?
This is a perfect segue.
Right.
into the ethics
Yeah, right, exactly.
conversation.
If the town code says it, this document should just point to the town code and say, see what the town code says about ethics. Or, yeah,
I think we talked about that one, maybe the first meeting, that the sunsetting idea that some of this could be moved out and put into codes. I think that really is a good idea. Keep it simpler and.
Or an ordinance, right?
Yeah.
or,
That's
or,
one of-
right, right.
Code, the list of words.
Oh, code and ordinance are the same?
Who knew?
It's-
I
Well,
know
that's
now.
one glossary
The
word.
town code is an ordinance?
Are the list of ordinances.
Yeah.
We already covered this. Yeah.
Town laws.
Yeah, I guess we did, yeah.
But the one concern that people have brought up is that charter's so much harder to change.
Mhm,
That
right.
it makes it a more permanent thing to be in the charter.
Commissioner here, I made that comment.
Right,
We're in the code now. That's the reason I said.
yeah.
So that's the one concern people have said. So, I mean, I think of the charter as sort of like our bylaws, which I find that need to be really, really short and easy to read.
Ideally, yes.
And then you have like policies and procedures, which can vary and much easier to change. And, those are the things that, should be flexible because we as a society change and we have different views and something comes up and I never thought of it that way. Let's shift to the right or the left or up or down. But the rules of the road are the charter, and as Brian was saying, there really are. I mean, I saw that. I couldn't find anything in the town state statutes about year. I think if they're mixing POCD and getting discretionary funds, you have to do that every 10 years versus the charter, and we're doing both right now. So it's a little
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's not. I couldn't find anything about time frame.
Yeah, I was looking too. Okay.
interesting, okay.
Yeah, so I vote simplify. and make it as
I'm with
readable
you.
and easy to get through, so we can actually follow it.
I agree personally, yeah.
Just a notice on notice.
Yeah.
The other point from the town clerk, in addition to eliminating the requirement for paper, if allowed by law, was also around how the RTM is notified.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So we would need to discuss that.
That-
Essentially, right now, I think that it sounds like the charter requires mail notices to the RTM. And I think the recommendation is that the
Something's wrong with this.
website should be fine for that, essentially.
Yeah, as a member, I like it when she emails, she used to email us the, it's not about her, it's about whatever is required, but the agenda and the packets. So, you know, mailing it now wouldn't make any sense, but it's helpful to have it like pop up in your email versus having to go to the website, but either one is really
I think,
fine.
I think
Yeah.
she's proposing the town clerk should notify all RTM members of the time and place at which each meeting will be held, and a notice shall be published at least 5 days before the meeting. So I think
that's
notification would be.
I think I think the gist of that is she's genericized it a little bit.
Yeah, so
There's
you don't have to make-
notice,
Yeah.
notice means I could come to your house and say, hey, guess what, it's meeting tomorrow night, here's papers, right?
Yeah.
But it's not an official, it has to be in the newspaper and, or we have to send physical mail, so.
Yes.
I think that's a real change, right? No, that's a good point, because I was just gonna say, it's the same references here, but there's notice of meetings, which is, you just covered, then there's
Yeah.
notice of ordinances, and I'm not
So
sure.
the ordinances has the newspaper and the meetings, I should say, has the ordinances and the mail to the RTM. The ordinances just have the newspaper.
Mm.
Got it, okay.
So we've now, assuming that we're okay with email instead of mail for the meetings, then we've covered those.
Right.
And then the notice of resignations
I'm
is.
sorry, and that I got the document here, but it looks like it's corrupted, because it won't let me open the
Oh.
PDF file, but.
That one, it talks about the current language, the town clerk shall cause notice of the meeting to be delivered to each member not less than 3 days before the time set for the meeting. And her point there on the resignation, under the resignations and vacancies section is that shall notify as opposed to cause notice to be delivered. Which I guess the point cause notice to be delivered maybe implies physical mail versus shall notify.
So this is in the case of a resignation of someone on the
We have
RTM
to
or
go to
any.
the actual charter to see like with the preceding paragraphs, it's like paragraph 2.6G, paragraph 4. Figure that out, like what precedes that.
The town clerk shall cause notice of the meeting to be delivered to each member not less than 3 days before the set time in the meeting. But that doesn't, if for any reasons such. This is where I lose it, because if a person previously occupying the office, which is vacant, was elected as a nominee or political party, the vacancy shall be filled by a person.
Is the overall procedures for RTM elections.
Right.
Oh, okay.
This, 2.6 is all RTM.
Yeah, and then G, section G is
Resignations and vacancies.
related to RTM members.
Mhm.
And then her point there is that make it easier to use email to deliver notice as opposed to cause notice to be delivered, which sounds like a line pipe.
Cause notice to be delivered, so, yeah.
It seems fine to me, but just.
Curious why.
context.
Yeah. Curious why, what the change means to her.
Well, just take,
She does, it's
take,
website where it's
D4.
access.
Town clerk shall upon receipt of such list forthwith notify all members by mail of their election.
Scares me every time.
Election of town. Right, RTM members. I mean, this is the kind of stuff she's trying to get away from, which is what we're trying to help her with.
Exactly,
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
So here you have to notify them by mail under G,
Mhm.
you have to notify them forthwith or whatever the language was.
I would almost say notice of the meeting to be delivered could be an email.
It doesn't say mode, so like.
But I guess I'm gonna object to her change personally.
I guess you can only. Because delivered, I was thinking maybe you don't know. I don't know.
I'm trying to look at what the 2022 thing says about. The vacancy, this is all vacancies.
We put it together.
They did, they put vacancies in elected office under all vacancies
All
instead of just, and then there's a subsection resignation and vacancies on the RTM. Vacancy in the office from whatever. I think her comment on resignation is more generic though. Not
You got it.
just, yeah.
I think it opens up more avenues in how she can notify, is my, which,
Makes sense.
In the sense is, I think what she's trying to do is, like Brian has told us, there's gonna be certain statutes that you have to have some type of formal public notice.
Mhm.
If we can isolate or identify or just use the language of unless otherwise required by statute,
Mhm.
notice from the town clerk shall be by email, by the utilization of the public website.
Mhm.
You give Betsy the opportunity to utilize how she wants to do it,
Mhm.
or the next town clerk wants to do it. And obviously, we have to comply with state statutes when they're there.
Right,
It's kind of a generic answer to the question.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I'm reading this quickly, but I don't see anything in here that even talks about how the vacancies are to be in the 2022 versions, how the vacancies are supposed to be communicated. It's kind of strange. Shall provide meeting. Yeah, this is funny. It's the first time I've tried to correlate not the first time, but the first time that I've gone from here to this, to the newer document, and it's confusing, so.
but it sounds like we broadly agree with the proposed simplification language.
Yes, I would say that's correct, yes.
Definitely.
A number of annual meeting requirement. So I wish I had the document to bring up, so I apologize.
So she's referencing 8.1 and 10.1.
Yep.
And as just saying, hey, eliminate the requirement for at least 10 regular stated meetings a year. And the justification is Connecticut FOIA requires a town agency must file a schedule of regular meetings each year with the town clerk. And that you can call special meetings. So the point is, I think that the, I guess the various town organizations or groups will be filing scheduled meetings with the town clerk, who will publicize them on the website.
Right.
And that's sufficient.
But that doesn't address the requirement of having 10 meetings. That's a different topic.
But I think I would assume her point would be that the group kind of determines their own schedule.
Right, I think that's probably right. And they can always add more. Wonder if there should be any minimum for some, maybe some committees, commissions wouldn't need to meet.
Well, I mean, 8.1 appears to only speak about there should be a Board of Education, a Board of Finance, a Board of Assessment Appeals, a Town Planning and Zoning Commission, and a Zoning Board of Appeals. And with the exception of the Board of Assessment Appeals, every one of those other boards has to hold at least 10. I've never known about this. I mean, the Board of Finance takes 2 months off, as does the RTM. But I guess because we have 10 budget meetings, that probably satisfies the requirement right there, right? The Board of Education, yeah, that's a good question. The Board of Education, do they take 2 months off in the summer?
I don't know, and we don't always take 2 months off.
Yeah, it depends, and we never used to put it in the schedule, and if we wanted a meeting during those months, it would have to be a special meeting, but her basic point is that there doesn't need to be a minimum.
Well, it's not 10, is she? I guess she's saying no minimum, but.
I think that the idea if you remove that requirement, it would read 8.1B1 would read all elected boards and commissions except the Board of Assessment Appeals, comma, shall give annual notice of such meetings as required by the general statutes.
Or annual notice of regular meetings, I think. Yeah.
And so it just would eliminate that clause on shall hold at least 10 regular stated meetings a year. But they have to give annual notice of the meetings.
Right. Is there any reason to require some minimum, like what?
Can you find out what this 2022 did?
That's what I'm just looking at now. That's this theory. Yeah.
And then just by the way, it also in 10.1B1, it also says all appointed boards and commissions except the Ethics Commission. And the Board of Building Appeals shall hold at least 10 regular stated meetings a year. And shall give annual notice. So once again, it's the same, it's the same sentence, et cetera, except that it's referring to a different set of groups, boards and such. So, once again, just we're just allowing them to set their own schedule.
Yeah.
The 2022 commission kept the language, the exact same language, all elected boards except for the Board of Assessment Appeals shall hold at least 10 regular meetings. And shall have a given annual notice of such meetings as required by the general statute.
That's in the new one?
That's the 2022 version, yes.
What page is that?
Oh, it's 5.3, page 32. Yeah, 2.5.
Our TM says they'll have a meeting every month, but can cancel if there's no business, but. I don't know if there's any policy reason to require a certain number or.
Having too few meetings is not a problem we have in this town.
No, right.
I'd just go on record as saying that. Personal opinion is, though it may be.
I mean, I guess the risk in theory is a board or commission would not do their responsibilities and not hold enough meetings.
Yeah.
But then they could be replaced in some, either by the board of select persons, or they could be replaced by the voters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
True.
I mean, there is a requirement every year to publish a meeting schedule. And if the RTM or the Board of Finance or Board of Education said, I'm gonna meet once this year, someone would probably say, what, really? You know, so, I mean, you know, by virtue of the fact you're putting out a regular meeting schedule that has more than 10 meetings, kind of implies the fact that you have to have 10 meetings, I guess, right?
Well, but also, I'm making one up, golf commission, like if they put out a regular schedule of 6, okay?
Well, and they're not bound by that.
Well, they are bound by section 10.
Oh, I haven't looked at section 10.
Section 8 is the bigger board and such.
Got it. Oh, section 10 is
And it's
everybody
the
else.
other ones.
8 is elected and 10 is appointed.
Ah, got it.
Thank you.
Got it.
And
Makes
it's
sense.
saying hold, not schedule, right? So it's.
So, it's a good question.
Our commission does not meet in July, August, or December.
Fine, but you're not in the charter, so it's okay.
Stay in the ordinance.
I guess we have to meet in July then if we get in the charter.
It's section 8.1 in the new document, just for.
I guess if we go back to what Gary's talked about, is, and we haven't said this is an official objective, but are we trying to simplify, are we trying to streamline? And Chris, to your point that we don't have a shortage of.
Right.
We trust the boards and commissions to effectively develop their own schedule.
Would be self-governing, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the elected boards, I could almost see it, but for the non-elected boards, I'm sure most of the boards aren't meeting this requirement. I bet you're not. I mean, you're not, but I'm just saying in general, right? Yeah, does the golf commission, I don't know, maybe they do. Do they really need to?
It'd be a social
Play
hour,
golf then.
Yeah, they go up to H. Smith Richardson, and use the new clubhouse, right?
not be smudging there.
Yeah, no, exactly right.
Hit a bucket of balls 10 times a year.
And it says specifically says here, the Ethics Commission and the Board of Building Appeals shall meet when they have business. Which,
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, because if there's no ethics.
Absolutely.
I guess,
If
yeah.
There are no ethics concerns.
There's no ethics.
yeah, right, yeah,
And
right.
no Board of Appeals, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's right, if there's nothing to talk about, right? So, so I guess so I guess, do commissions not have to publish an annual calendar?
Well, they
Boards
do.
do?
Where's,
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
they publish that in one meeting, an organizational meeting, and then if you're on the ethics board or
You
ethics
couldn't
commission,
Possibly publish, I mean, to your point, you could have an organizational meeting, but you don't know what ethics concerns or advisory opinions you're gonna be asked for throughout your term, so.
Yeah.
be a lot of.
that's my point. If you're required as an ethics commission to post a calendar for the year, the only thing you could truly put on a calendar is we're gonna have an organizational meeting on
Exactly.
January 5th, and then everything else is kind of up for grabs.
As ad hoc as.
Everything's a special meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's a special meeting. That's the only difference, right? Is special meetings are,
Mhm.
regular meetings are
Scheduled.
scheduled, right? And regular meetings aren't. Special meetings are not. Right.
So it would be interesting to see what feedback you get if you go to the Board of Selectmen meeting and it's the sense of the body of this commission that we're going to take out the requirement of a number of scheduled meetings in the charter.
Yeah.
And we're gonna leave it to the individual commissions to establish their own schedule, which they're required then to publish with the town clerk in December of the year prior to the year of the meetings. Right?
Mhm.
And how many people show up and say, wait a minute, how are you gonna do that? Why are you doing that? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you leave it to the bodies to set their own agenda.
Mhm.
Me too.
We have pretty responsible people that run our town.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we do a sense of the body about that?
Yeah,
Monthly.
Yeah. You?
The
The golf
second.
committee does?
commission
Oh.
Hey, sorry,
Commission what?
Meets monthly.
Monthly.
The second Monday of the month at 7
at H. Smith Richardson, right?
at Rec Center.
Oh, they do, actually.
At the rec center. Isn't that interesting?
Well, 'cause that's-
I mean, yes, we can certainly take a sensitive body.
I don't know if we need
I
to.
don't know what we're, I guess.
Yeah, actually, we've talked about a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I think broadly the question is, are we accepting the town clerk's recommended changes that removes the annual 10 meeting requirement
Mhm.
Right.
from sections 8 and sections 10?
Mhm.
That's broadly what we're.
Well, I'll make a motion for a sensitive body to recommend that we would accept the town clerk's recommendation to remove the requirement for 10 regularly stated meetings a year for elected boards, AKA section 8.1, and appointed boards and commissions, section 10.1.
And second is second.
I would say maybe we could ask Betsy who doesn't meet that requirement now, like why did that come up for her so that we understand? I don't know. Cause, you know, solid waste
I mean-
recycling commission doesn't, but it seems everybody else is monthly.
But they're not in the charter.
And my two groups aren't in the charter and we meet monthly. There's a lot that isn't in the charter.
I mean, I know the town clerk's office has the responsibility to post, agendas and meeting minutes and all that, all goes through the town clerk's office, right? So, I don't know, maybe we could certainly ask her, maybe she feels there's an excessive burden on the town clerk's office for having to post meetings that maybe no one goes to. I don't know,
Well, just in terms of simplification and efficiency, what would get us there from her perspective? That was one of our goals we talked about, was trying to.
Sounds like removing it. So, any other discussion on my motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What are you talking?
Meeting removal.
Yeah, one more.
No, yeah, we are.
And that we're done with notice, I believe. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Pending removal. Okay, our last, no, sorry, not our last agenda item. Agenda item 10, discussion of CRC topic category of ethics.
Chris, do you wouldn't mind calling up the spreadsheet I put together that we can facilitate a conversation?
Make sure that I have that.
Just while Chris is doing that, by way of background, Karen and I were part of a steering committee that worked over 4 months, I think, to take a look at the town ethics code, which basically just dealt with municipal fraud, and the standards of conduct, which dealt with everything else, again, with an eye towards consolidation, simplification, contemporizing. And this group was comprised of people within the administration, and then Karen and myself. This has been completely vetted by the town attorney. And as of today, it has been sent out to all employees of the town. I think I copied you all on the notice that went out, and it's been sent to the unions. So it's that ethics policy is now a done deal. The confusion arises. The conversation with regard to the charter is really a two-pronged approach. There's the ethics commission, which we need to bifurcate from the ethics policy standards of conduct discussion. So if we go to the spreadsheet, I think the lower hanging fruit is actually the.
Is this what you're referring to or no?
There's a spreadsheet that Jen. That's the one. Could be in the backup document.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's under, you mean the thing that says backup ethics?
She's printed it out for everybody here, but it's a little hard to follow. It's much easier to follow online.
Is this it here?
Can you go to the website? Yeah, this is it.
Looks like this.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, there should be multiple tabs.
Yeah,
No, it's a,
scrolling.
yeah,
Well, if you scroll down further.
Ah,
down
okay,
the
so
next
we
tab.
go all the way down to the very bottom.
make this a little bit bigger.
Can I mention one thing?
Please.
So the thing that we worked on is the employee ethics policy.
Correct.
And the reason I was involved is because we started an ethics ordinance. I think from what happened a few years ago, a lot of people felt like we needed stronger ethics rules and guidance.
Yes.
So so we started an ethics ordinance and then realized we should coordinate with the town. So this is the town policy for employees. Now, we're gonna work on elected officials and appointed officials and their ethics.
And is the intent of that to be an ordinance that goes into the town code?
Yes, well, that's what Jane will talk about, but that is the intent, and that's the charter now authorizes the RTM to create an ethics code, which never happened. There was no ethics code, so.
I think this is what you're referring to, yes?
Yes, so I'm gonna just go a little bit.
That's as big as I can make it
No,
and
that's
still
fine.
fit the screen.
This actually has to do with the ethics commission. So what I tried to do, this is the actual charter. This is the recommendations, and I did my own redlining because I couldn't get it to cut and paste an actual redline version. And then I put what the selectman was actually asking us to do. And his comment was to expand the Ethics Commission, and I really wasn't sure what he meant by expanding the Ethics Commission. I know he was very concerned with the Board of Selectmen requiring a unanimous vote to put someone on the Ethics Commission. And so the situation, as one of our commissioners can speak to, we've run into is if one individual on the Board of Selectmen does not agree to that, then the person is not elected, right? So you go to the Board of Selectmen, you require unanimous approval, and then you go, once it's approved by the Board of Selectmen, you go to the RTM. So what happens now, and what's happened recently, is there are some stalemates. And so now you have an Ethics Commission that is limping along, not at full power, because the Board of Selectmen cannot get any of their recommendations.
They can't align on a lot of candidates, is that the, yeah.
It's a 2-to-1
Got it, okay.
vote, yep,
It's
exactly.
the only commission under the charter or in the town that requires unanimous consent of the Board of Selectmen.
I don't think there is, right? I think is this the only one? I think so.
No, it
I can
is.
tell you,
Yeah.
it's the only one.
Yeah.
I'm the one that had a 2-to-1 vote.
Oh, really? And I think they sometimes haven't even had a quorum at meetings.
That's
because-
exactly right.
so They couldn't
And
function.
Right now, I think there are upwards of 20 matters pending before the Ethics Commission. So not having a full commission and sometimes not having a quorum is a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
Clarifying point, does the Ethics Commission today require party balance, political party balance?
It requires minority representation.
Yeah, you can't have more than.
Can't have,
So if that's the same answer, yes.
Broadly, so like one party can't stack the deck is the way.
no.
can't have, right.
Yeah, clear on that.
And-
So there's a check and a balance there, okay?
Exactly.
And I guess my clarifying question, so Ethics Commission, is their charter to enforce the ethics policy?
Their charter is to investigate any claim brought to the Ethics Commission and then to.
The policy is kind of that
Correct.
document that they use to,
Right, and they're
do their
also
work.
charged with issuing advisory
Advisory
opinions,
opinions.
should they be so asked.
And the standards are the standards of conduct or any ordinance establishing a code of ethics. So that's what they have to be accused of violating.
yeah.
I mean, I think if we go down, I could probably-
Oh, there's more, sorry.
yeah, powers and duties.
Oh, see, yep.
Receive complaints,
Receive
alleged
complaints,
violations
yep.
of the Standards of conduct.
There's a comical public hearing that's recorded if you ever want to hear it.
It is
The,
odd that
um,
that has to be unanimous. Why, I wonder why that ever became.
Oh, that,
It's unanimous and you'll hear me on the public thing say, I had a conflict with select person Kupchak and I actually acknowledge that this conflict, I know I need unanimous support. But by having the conflict, I'm not gonna get your vote in the future.
Oh,
But I gotta call the question, why be ethical if you can't be ethical?
yeah, yeah.
So,
So Bill's first recommendation was to remove the fact that you need a unanimous vote of the Board of Selectmen to get somebody on the Ethics Commission.
so the Ethics Commission is not in the charter today, is that right?
It
It is in there, okay.
10-15.
It is, thank you.
This
This is, oh yeah, you have that, sorry, yes, you made that very clear, I'm sorry,
The
yeah.
Ethics Commission is in the charter.
Yeah, sorry, and, sorry, you made that perfectly clear and I just didn't process it, I'm sorry. And it does say 5 members appointed by unanimous vote of the Board of Selectmen. And only a majority vote by the RTM, so at least it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, can you imagine getting?
So you wanna put a death blow, if you wanna put a death blow on something, you just have it, yeah.
Brian wrote something.
Well, boy, I tell you what, I was just I don't know why, this is absolutely ridiculous to me. I would certainly be in favor of not having this be unanimous. And again, if anyone wants to question it, my first question that, you know, the commissioner here has already answered it. What other position in this whole town has to be unanimous?
That's exactly right.
It would also be fun to know how many of the other boards and commissions that have to go through the Board of Selectmen, how many of those were ever done by unanimous vote?
Usually,
Yeah.
The members are unanimous on the
That,
board of commissioners?
the entire Board of Selectmen voted for a particular person to be on a commission?
whenever I'm at a meeting.
Oh, you
We
mean
we
the-
were approved
Oh,
unanimously.
yeah, that happens a lot.
Shouldn't be that hard.
No, I believe we were not approved unanimously. I believe there was
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
someone abstained.
yeah.
you and I work in the same.
Oh, you're right.
That's.
Well, we can go through, again, my personal opinion. That's, it should not be unanimous, right?
Right. I think that's right.
I think the point that you made though, that if they don't have a quorum, they can't get the work done, they've got a backlog, like it's a problem. It's and it's unfair to whoever has lodged a complaint or made. the
And it's
concern.
unfair to the person being accused.
True.
Right.
True.
Right.
Both
They're-
sides.
Right,
they're
just
limbo.
drags on.
And listen,
To a speedy trial, right?
just from a practical perspective, if you look on the website right now, we're begging people to get on commissions, and I think this is one of them. I think it literally says in there, please, I think it was in Bill's newsletter.
Every news.
Please join up and be in a commission, and this is one of them, so anything we can do to help the process. Because my next point is about term limits. Why we have term limits on any commission, non-elected commission, is absolutely ridiculous. Now, there's a particular person that was on the Ethics Commission, I won't name names. I love this person, and can't even say he or she, because that'll give it away a little bit. This person termed out. Amazing person on the Ethics Commission and termed out. So now this person's sitting at home going, I'd love to be on the Ethics Commission, but I termed out and I can't be on it again.
They can
Are you
have
kidding me?
years, right?
It's the same thing with the investment board, you know?
We have a whole section on terms, by the way.
Right, yeah. But I mean, this is, it's just staring me right in the face here, right? And I don't think Bill's recommendations in red take that out, do they?
Can we go back up? These are the, in red,
Yeah,
that was what the
2020.
2020.
I'm sorry, I apologize, right, okay. So the red is what was changed.
The red is.
Got
the
it.
So can we just go back up a couple more rows?
Sure.
Okay, so I think we addressed the Board of Selectmen stalemate issue that,
So the prior commission, just so we're 100% clear, because I guess I'm the slow one in the room, they did not feel the need to remove the unanimous vote.
that is correct.
Thank you. Got it. Now,
Go ahead.
does the commission get inputs through our ombudsman line? Because we have an ombudsman line now,
I
right?
think the ethics complaint can come from any source.
So.
Someone
yes,
could walk in HR and complain, or it could come through ombudsman, right?
there are a number of ways to raise a concern. And yes, there is a third-party ethics hotline, and until our little committee met, if you logged a concern through the third-party ethics hotline, it went to the IT administrator.
So you better not be complaining about the IT administrator. Who's a good guy, probably didn't have any complaints anyway, but still.
So we've got that process.
Goodness.
All nailed down now. A copy goes to the Ethics Commission and the Director of HR. And some matters don't need to be resolved at the Ethics Commission. Some matters can clearly be resolved with the HR department.
So an ethics complaint against the director of HR, that person would be made aware of that.
No, so we, allowed for the anonymous recording. We do not.
Okay.
You
Do you have to
do
put your
not-
name?
Look, at the end of the day, you want to get the concern. It's less about who raises the concern.
No, absolutely, right?
You want to know if there's something amiss, right?
Right.
So there is a facility to raise anonymous concerns, and you can do that through the third-party hotline.
No, my point is, if you go through the third-party hotline and have a complaint about the HR director.
Yeah.
The HR director is gonna be on CC on that.
This is true.
Okay.
Yes.
It's good that it also goes to the ethics commission.
It goes two ways, which is the right way for it to do, right? Unless you're gonna hire an ethics
Mhm.
So there's no. way-
compliance officer for the town, there's no other way to do it.
Like a catch and kill, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why we have it go both ways. So I think that addresses the second issue Bill raised about ensuring there's an anonymous hotline.
So we would add the requirement for anonymous hotline to the charter? Is that what you're
That's
saying?
kind of part of the second piece of the conversation, because in the ethics code, there is a requirement for an anonymous hotline.
Isn't there a discretionary language in that anonymity?
Meaning,
I recall reading it that the anonymous nature of the complaint is subject to the person publishing it, or there was a provision in the anonymity that I didn't think was a beneficial provision. I can't pull it up right now. but-
so we would allow anonymous reporting. The issue with anonymous reporting, the flip side of that is the person who's making the report never has the opportunity to get feedback on how their
Mhm.
concern was addressed because they're anonymous.
Oh,
I'll have to find the language. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
There was-
so there's no feedback loop, there's no generic feedback loop for anonymous complaints.
Right, because you wouldn't.
Unless you're gonna post it in the general
Yeah.
format, which would kind of defeat the purpose, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess the question is whether this requirement, I think somebody raised this just now, it should be in the charter, or should it be, it's in a policy, should it be in the code, should it be an ordinance?
And so this is the whole alignment sort of conundrum. In the code, there is a requirement for an ethics, a third-party hotline, anonymous hotline. So it's there. If the standards of conduct portion of the charter, I don't want to use the word eliminated, but gets changed.
Diminished.
So it simply references the new ethics code. So as the ethic code, to Mary's earlier point, as things evolve over the years, the charter doesn't become stale. Because the charter is simply referencing a code that will evolve over the years.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I'm in favor of anything that,
So if we go to the standards of conduct.
Where is that?
Through ordinance.
Where is the standards of conduct, by the way? In the charter?
Yes. Anthony?
Article 11.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
In my opinion, Article 11 really doesn't need to exist except for, and again, I'm not an attorney, I don't even know if this is possible. I wouldn't call it standards of conduct because there is no standards of conduct for the town. It's the ethics code. So we have some confusion there. But that section, if it has to remain in the charter, in my opinion, should merely reference the ordinance that the RTM is gonna pass or the current ethics code that's just been adopted. Although the current ethics code that's just been adopted, to Karen's earlier point, is for employees. Karen's gonna be working with the RTM to take that document or some form of it and create an ordinance which covers elected and appointed officials.
And that would cover conflicts of interest.
I was just gonna say, which would basically supersede 11.2.
Exactly. So 11.2 has basically been rewritten in this new ethics code. The delta right now is the new ethics code only covers town employees. So until the RTM passes the ordinance, you wouldn't have something that covered elected official or appointed officials.
In what, so what's the difference between it, other than the obvious, what's the difference from an ethics perspective or a standard of conduct perspective between an employee and an elected official? I would say none,
I
right?
know, I thought that when we started talking, we actually had the ordinance with the LNA getting ready to go to the RTM, and then it was pointed out that unions have a lot of say in certain behavioral aspects. So, and then there's also consequences about warnings and things like that. So to apply it all to employees could cause a lot of trouble. So
Oh, got it.
that's why it's got to be
So the
different.
employees is more restrictive than what would be at least
Yeah, probably.
foreseen to be for the elected officials.
Right, in that they
Oh.
have some rights between whether contractual.
contractual
bargaining,
rights.
Yeah,
Right. And as an elected official, there's none.
right.
And there are also things
Well, that's a
covered
good
under
answer,
the
yeah.
employee code, like nepotism, for example.
Mhm.
And relationships between subordinates and their supervisors
Right.
that might not necessarily cover.
And that wouldn't apply for elected officials.
Right, probably not.
If they're elected. I mean,
If they're elected, I mean,
Mm,
you and your wife and your partner are both elected on the same board. Well,
yeah.
that was the fault of everybody who voted for you,
Right.
not the fact that you know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I would say maybe the standards of conduct, I like the first paragraph, like something general, like everybody should comply with
Yeah.
the rules of ethics as articulated in the town policy and the code and all that. But I think you're right, the rest of it will be
Goes away.
duplicative, yeah.
Not only duplicative, but it's out of date the minute there's a collective bargaining something that says
Right.
you have
Right.
to update the code, right?
Right.
I mean, for me, for anything that could be easily iterated, shouldn't be in the town
Mhm.
charter, right? We should be able to reference it in an ordinance or some other document, right? I'm not saying I wanna update this thing every 5 days,
Mhm.
but if it's every year or, well, I'll put it the other way. I don't want people to have to say, oh, I'd love to update the ethics thing, but we just went through the whole charter thing. And even though this would make so much more sense for ethically, I'm not going through that again.
Mhm.
I'd rather have a document that we could easily, with simply an RTM vote, an
Mhm.
LNA vote, to be, changed.
Right, then
Right.
your charter never becomes stale with regard to that provision. And then I think the last thing, the last thing I picked up, our intern's great research, was many towns seem to have a requirement of their ethics commission that they submit an annual report. So an annual report, let's say to the Board of Selectmen, the RTM. I don't know what that annual report would look like, but I certainly think even if it's just metrics, we got X number of concerns in, we felt we had to investigate X number and so many were confirmed. It could be just that high level, but I think it's very useful information to the powers that run the town.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've had this discussion as a Board of Finance member, I don't know how many times, in regards to audits. You could be the most upstanding town and everything's going great. But if nobody does audits, there's always that, well, how do we know everybody's doing great things? We haven't done any audits, right? So I'm a firm believer that if you're gonna have an ethics commission and you're gonna have a collection system, you should be able to say, we received 20 complaints and all 20 were addressed within 30 days.
Right, and
You know,
here's how many were
and
confirmed.
And here's how many were confirmed and,
Yeah.
30% of them were unfounded or 50%, right?
Exactly. Here's how many we decided to refer to law enforcement rather
Right.
than investigate ourselves. So I do see that the requirement to submit an annual report, even as I said.
To the Board of Selectmen, yes?
Metric, Board of Selectmen, RTM, the bodies that really are charged with running the town. I think it measures the health of ethics within the town, or the health of compliance. And I've always been a firm believer, the larger number of concerns you receive, the healthier the culture you have. It means you have a culture where people are not afraid to raise concerns. You know, rather than, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get fired if I raise that.
Right.
So I think used appropriately, the metrics might be important.
That shows the town.
I think that's.
People in the town also that, sorry,
Right, that's
someone was gonna talk.
That's something.
Towns have the annual. Or
Yeah, this is a lot to see on the screen, but they're,
Oh, no, I, if you go back to my spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
I articulated which ones.
Oh.
I'm just gonna see the different books to see what they do.
Is it-
That's not brand.
was it part?
It's like
Go
this.
back,
Papers.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
No, back down. Right here. East Hartford, Branford, and Greenwich,
Oh.
according to our benchmarking.
This
Requirement.
is Branford, East Hartford, and nice job of it, right where I wanted them to. The duties. So Branford says, making recommendations for amendments to the code and adopt has the power to hold hearings, administer oaths. When report.
Well, Chris is looking at Karen, a question, do you anticipate that the RTM will pass the ethics ordinance soon?
I hope
Like
before the end of, I hope before June. I was just tonight sending it out, the new policy. It would be good to do it before the summer. Everything slows down and then
Right.
elections happen.
Because otherwise we'd have to write some kind of sunset language in, and
There it is.
because you couldn't take it out without that having, you know, then.
Right.
And Jane, a question, the one thing that would strike me when I read the 2022 provisions, the section on rules of order and civility, like, why is that in the charter? But is
Yes.
that covered in this area, or is that completely different than what you were, what we are when you're thinking about ethics? This like public meeting decorum as an example.
Yeah, I
rules
mean,
of
I
order.
would.
Why is that in here?
Sort of ethics.
Okay, I was just
think that-
curious.
I
Okay.
would think that that's just overall.
Rules of civility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to put one or two things in the ordinance about.
Right, I would think,
Ordinance.
yes.
Yes,
The
not
ordinance,
the
yes,
charter.
not.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was just
Yeah, I
curious if that
agree,
was.
And that
part of it.
doesn't really apply to the employees, right? Because we expect them, and we do have something in there about how they're supposed to behave. Respectfully,
Mm.
respectfully.
The distinction between Branford, East Hartford and Greenwich. Is Greenwich an opportunity for catch and kill through the town attorney versus the Board of Ethics? And is that why you're giving that as an example compared to the other two, and you choose which one you suggested three models, right?
I suggest 3 towns submit annual reports.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
hear
no,
that.
no,
Oh,
3 towns submit
Okay.
annual reports. And I thought it might be a useful piece of information.
See, I only see Greenwich, this says in issues an annual report. I find it funny that they don't say who they issue it to, but I didn't see it here. Hold meetings. Who's fines, censures. Board of Ethics.
So,
is your general view that the conduit would be the Board of the Ethics Commission and not some other place to receive the complaint?
oh, absolutely. I think it needs to be a twofold. I think it needs to go to the HR director, because my guess is the majority of concerns raised do not need to be referred to the Ethics Commission. But when I was talking about the catch and kill, the fact that everything goes to the Ethics Commission and everyone on the Ethics Commission doesn't allow something to get swept under the rug if somebody raised, what if the concern is about the HR director? This then allows the Ethics Commission to know there's a concern about the HR director, so.
And it's also viewed as it's the most impartial body probably, like I think giving it to the town attorney.
Yeah.
At the moment, the town attorney's a political appointment really,
Correct.
so it's.
It's.
And so there is one provision that was added in the 2022 version, which allows the Ethics Commission to hire an attorney if they feel the need. I would like to augment that with, they should also be allowed to hire an
The
investigator.
investigator was a good idea.
Because it's, you may be very good as an attorney, right? But there are people out there that do investigations, and there may be just one of those complex concerns that comes in where you would want an investigator. So I would like to see them be able to hire an attorney and an investigator if the need arises.
I can tell you from personal experience, we use an investigator all the time in our legal practice. Human nature is people are a lot more likely to talk to an investigator than an attorney.
Sure.
Just a barrier that gets set up. For some reason, people don't like lawyers, and I haven't figured out what that
And
is.
I will tell you,
Because
honestly,
they haven't met you yet.
I will tell you why, that is why the GE ombudsperson was never a lawyer. Lawyers by virtue of their training are very black and white.
I think different.
Ombuds, right? Ombuds plays in the gray sandbox.
Right.
It's kind of squishy and you just need to chase the facts and chase the data to get to the conclusion. Now, obviously, there are more times than not where you need to bring in labor and employment or an environmental attorney or whatever the concern was, but it's really sort of an independent investigator that, and people are much more comfortable. The minute they know you're a lawyer, they'll shut right down.
They clam up. Well, they measure what they say in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me. I love this comparison because you could go down in just 5 seconds and see that they didn't change a whole lot here, right? You know, I mean, most of this red was to change select men to select
That's
persons,
exactly right.
right? So which
Very
is legit, right? But no real substantive changes until you get up here. And which is about the terms, and I frankly think what they've tried to do is point it to April 1st rather than the beginning of the quarter or something like that. This seems like a lot. But yeah, I'm in full agreement with this. We should separate this code
Mhm.
out of this document and make this a very generic,
Right.
you know, like you said,
Address
I
the
like the
ethics.
declaration of policy. Everyone should be ethical. We should all play nice together. And if you want to know how you should play nice together, you should go see this other,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right?
Again, what I've been trying to capture notes to this, what I think we're saying is, so remove unanimous order selection requirement.
Correct.
Remove the details from section 11 and reference the policy.
Except for the beginning paragraph.
Yeah, beginning paragraph seems to be the only thing we would.
Yeah, remove the details.
would-
please,
yeah.
yep. Add an annual reporting requirement back to the.
If the body agrees with that, that was.
I only
Yeah.
found it on Granite, the other two towns don't seem to list it, which is kind of an odd thing to have a report that is annual and isn't listed, and it's a 60
Who's it goes to, you mean, yeah, right?
No, it just doesn't have
On their
any.
website.
Yeah,
Oh.
in Bedford or
Oh,
East
okay.
Hartford, but it's a 60-page report and it goes to the Board of Selectmen.
Wow,
I don't understand why it's 60 pages.
it has to be 60 pages.
No, it is.
Oh.
Last year it was 60 pages.
We only have 2 paragraphs, we have 59 pages of.
60 pages and they have to meet 10 times on it.
But you didn't hear the last part. Mary said there was only one violation and their annual report was
Still 60
60
pages?
pages.
Oh, that's
I'll
weird.
send it. to you.
Troubling.
My goodness.
Maybe it's hard, maybe on my phone, I'm not.
And then the last one, the ability for the commission to hire an external attorney and or investigator is needed.
Correct.
Yep.
So
Yep.
only changes,
And to change the unanimous, right?
yes, we have, yeah.
We'll just remove them.
The unanimous section.
That's all gonna be
11,
removed and put in
Annual
the-
reporting.
Oh, no.
and External attorney.
No, that
investigator.
I think we'd have to keep the stuff about the commission.
Well, no, so, sorry, I think we're
Section 11.
discussing 11 right now.
Well, section 11 is.
Section 10.15 is the other thing, because that's where it talks about,
Right, and in section 10.15, that's where you add the annual reporting requirement.
That's
That's where
the
you
actual
mention the
commission.
ability to.
the
hire
10.15
external-
has to stay in here.
Yes.
Yeah,
10.15
absolutely.
says you have to have right, okay.
Absolutely, that's that's why I said we need to sort of bifurcate the commission, which needs to remain in the charter over the ethics policy, standards of conduct, whatever
Got
you want to call it, which should be out of the charter and incorporated by reference, I think.
Right.
How that flexible.
So I would agree, so we're saying that we would, and maybe we can do an all-encompassing sensitive body on this whole thing. So not unanimous. I would also say, again, you're gonna hear me say this 30 more times, right? I do not understand why we would ever limit a term, on anyone. Now, as a new administration comes in, maybe they need to be reappointed. I don't know what the right answer is. But to limit terms on boards and commissions, non-elected boards and commissions, or not a commission, sorry, where we have a lack of people right now, and I could name 5 people right off the top of my head right now that we've lost from these commissions that have done amazing work, and they're all sitting at home rather than being on the financial, investment boards or the ethics commission. Just to me makes absolutely no sense. It makes 0 sense. So I
There
would,
has to be a way though to, like maybe when the term ends, there's a choice whether to keep them on. Because you may have people who aren't really doing that much.
yeah, I guess.
What about the person that doesn't show up for
Right.
meetings? What?
Well, there should be.
But there's still a
rules
term, though.
related to
But there's
that.
still,
And they have to be
there's
reappointed.
still a term.
You have to be.
Oh, I thought you were saying no term limit.
No.
That's true.
I'm saying every 2 years you gotta be re-voted on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this says here, no member may serve a shorter than,
Oh, no, I
More
agree
than a
with
short
that,
or one-
yes.
this
I
basically says
totally
you
agree.
can't serve more than 2 terms.
But I do think you should have to be reappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear. Every 2 years, if you don't show up and everyone else on the board is like, this guy doesn't show up, I don't want him on, great, let's get somebody else.
Exactly.
But to cut off a functioning member that's contributing every month or however many times they're gonna meet a year. After 2 terms to me, it's just
And
ludicrous.
to lose that institutional
Yeah.
knowledge, it's just
Our investment
wasteful.
board, our retirement investment board, that is such a hard, I couldn't serve on that board. I don't think I'm smart enough to do that board. And I know 3 smart people that have termed out, and I think the town's worse off for it.
They could go back on after a year or 2 probably, but I get your point. I'm not disagreeing.
Man, once we let them go,
I know.
it's hard to reel them back in
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah, it's true.
unless you're an idiot like me. But, I mean,
And then conversely, to lose somebody like Jerry, who
because of a unanimous vote.
would bring such amazing knowledge to any board or commission because of a unanimous vote of 3 people.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It was an interesting day.
I have to go listen to that. How
Yeah.
long, when was it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gotta send us that recording.
So there was one other topic from Mr. Brown's email that I can't say I fully understood, but essentially referencing some kind of court decision that said questioned whether or not we could actually appeal the subject of an ethics commission
Yes,
could actually
and
appeal. Oh.
I don't know, and I wondered if it's something we shouldn't ask the town attorney about, or the ethics attorney about, or I'm sorry, the CRC's attorney about. I don't know, it was a very lengthy email, and I don't know if the ability to appeal or not appeal is.
Are they not allowed to appeal now?
Well, I mean, essentially, it does say in the charter, 1015 CF, I think, if I remember right, I don't know. An individual directly involved or directly affected, or were action taken by the Ethics Commission, may seek judicial review. And his point was referencing some case from years ago that,
So you can't see
yeah, exactly. And all-
judicial review, and he said there's also a case currently pending.
So we should ask.
Would have an impact.
So once,
What
so
is
is,
the, what, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
If I remember what I read, it was something about the appeal had gone to the Superior Court, and Judge Arnold ruled on it. And it was, Richie Arnold was saying something about you came to the wrong venue versus you can't appeal.
Oh,
And I don't know that if I'm accurately restating what I read,
That's different.
but you might have
Well,
picked
that
the.
is very different. then.
Yeah.
And that's what I was, when I read it, and Richie Arnold's, he's passed away, but he was a very smart judge.
hmm.
Ruled against me a couple of times.
Then that's so smart.
All that.
Now, it does say in here that the Ethics Commission has the power to retain its own counsel. Is
Correct.
that not? what
It's not an investigator.
It's not an investigator.
Oh, got it. Okay, so the Ethics Committee, I'm sorry, I apologize.
go.
The, because I was looking at these other, the comparisons to the other communities. And it seems like Branford, this is quite a statement, it says, they can issue advisory opinions, make recommendation, or whatever.
Ours can do that too.
Ours can do that as well. So if there's an ethics complaint and it gets addressed to HR, does that mean HR can go back to the commission and say, well, what do you guys think? Is that kind of what that means?
They
Or
can- HR can ask for an advisory opinion from the board. But HR also has the responsibility of investigating the majority of concerns that are raised.
got it. And the commission is not involved in the investigation phase as
HR
well.
will refer to the commission anything they think is not within their domain to.
Okay.
Since that makes.
So have we captured the intent of the
What I've captured is the from the standards and conduct and ethics that we would remove, or this referring to section 11, we keep an introductory paragraph and then remove the details.
yes,
And but we
Um,
need to incorporate by
and-
reference.
In reference,
Right.
yeah,
right, and reference to,
and then, and then remove details, and then only reference the town policy and upcoming town ordinance.
and we can refer, and I know you two were discussing it, but I wasn't following. Can we reference something that doesn't exist
So that's where-
today?
Provide language if it
Any-
doesn't, if it,
Any town ordinance and any policy of the town.
right. I
Ah,
think the point is we really shouldn't take it out if that hasn't been passed. But maybe write some language where if that's in the process of it, this will be superseded by ordinance passed by the RTM. We'd have to get conforming.
I mean, more generic is better, because if we pass an ethics ordinance tomorrow, and then 6 months from now, we pass something that we think is even better, and it's not called the ethics ordinance, and then now the charter is inaccurate.
So
Yeah, it
that's
should,
section 11. So then section 10-15, more about how the ethics commission works.
Right,
Remove unanimous board of select persons appointment requirement.
yes,
Add annual reporting requirement back to public and board of selectmen, RTM. Add ability for ethics commission to hire external investigator in addition to the attorney. They already can.
and remove the 2-term limit.
Okay.
Under A3, I don't want there to be a term limit. I want them to have to be able to vote in to be voted on in a 2-year term, but not limited. So that no more than 3, that might not be the section.
should the person who's accused of an ethics violation be notified promptly after, if there's a complaint about somebody? Or how does that work? Is it better that they do an investigation?
I think it, during the course of the investigation, the person is talked to and notified at that time that they are the subject of an investigation, and then counsel that they will talk about it. So when a concern comes in, you don't automatically notify somebody that there's a concern about them, because right at the outset, it may be completely unfounded.
Mhm,
So you do need to start some
Mhm.
kind of investigation
mhm.
to figure out where this is going.
Okay, thanks.
The only other
I get-
thing
so
I
I-
captured, the ability to appeal decisions, that separate question raised by Mr. Brown was postponed. We need to have the town attorney research and come back.
Okay.
Good.
And I guess what I'm saying is under 1015A3, just the last sentence goes away.
Yeah, I'm not writing like a
No
language.
member may
or-
serve more than a shorter, I hate this language.
Remove-
No member may serve more than a shorter of 2 terms.
I couldn't understand it.
Okay, because I figured if anybody would understand it, would have been one of the lawyers, but or 1 term plus a partial term. So if we just take that sentence out, I think then that says that the term of the member shall be 2 years and shall be staggered so that no more than 3 expire in a year.
Well, the shorter of 2 terms or
Mhm,
1 term plus the partial.
Right.
So it makes sense, but yeah, I agree.
If you pass, go collect $200.
Yeah, right, exactly, okay. So, sense of the body, I'll make a motion that we, based on the commentary of the last 20 minutes, on sections 11.1 and 10.15, pending the confirmation of the town attorney on the one topic we just raised, I say we approve these changes to the ethics sections of the charter.
A second.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Please have the record note my abstention.
Ah,
Commissioner McHenry has abstained. Excellent discussion. Thank you very much. This was a lot of work. so Thank you very much.
Great work, Commissioner Biagini.
Sure, we could spend 3 more days talking about ethics, right? But it's listen, it's very important. And I hope people don't look at don't think we're minimizing it in the charter because
The opposite.
we're taking a
really.
bunch of words out, but I think we're actually providing more focus.
and there's been a
Yeah.
lot of effort to revise the code, and Karen's going through a lot of effort to bring it to the RTM, and all for good.
I would agree. Okay,
One thing that wasn't on the agenda,
yes,
if
Next
you
topics?
can- Exactly.
yes. That was gonna be my next, I was gonna do that during public comment, but
Okay.
let's, so, do we have any thoughts? Let me just close this out.
I was going to suggest the charter section, which is somewhat of a catch-all of, charter versus code, defined terms, disability language, general neutral terms, and the town seal.
Yep, I've got it right there.
So that would be one that.
Help me out, maybe this is an attorney question. Help me out with the town seal. This seems very binary to me. Keep the old seal, get a new seal. And I don't understand how that affects the charter.
Well, the point is, it's in the
In the-
charter.
Right, we want to
Right.
leave it to
So-
maybe,
It can't be changed today without changing through this type of thing,
So-
or charter revision.
So maybe I don't want to take us off a tangent here, but the seal, what does it actually say? I thought it said town has to have a seal. It doesn't have a picture of that seal in here. I know that for sure. So I'm just curious because there's been quite a few comments about, mostly in the negative. That
Yeah.
people don't like the representation.
right, let us think about it.
Official seal, 1411, or 14.1, excuse me, 14.1.
Oh, so that, thank you.
Yeah, it shall be adopted as the official town, the official village town shall be as adopted at a town meeting held July 1st, 1935. And certified. So presumably that seal was selected in 1935, I'm guessing.
So what is this body going to say? So if we all hate the seal, what are we gonna say? Are we gonna change that to say that we're gonna adopt a new one that'll, that?
No, leave it to the RTM,
the
leave it to
RTM.
the people to decide, because it could change.
Ah,
Yeah,
got
I
it,
mean, essentially the town.
Oh, so I guess by-
Be identified by ordinance by the RTM.
got it. So if we said, nope, I love the seal, then we wouldn't change this language.
Right.
We would just, oh, got it, okay.
And the
Thank you.
RTM could choose to keep it.
Mhm.
Oh, it could still not make it past the RTM. No, I got it,
Right.
okay. Thank
So
you.
that would be,
I-
but anyways,
I couldn't wrap my brain around that, because I know people are very passionate about this, but I'm like, what are, I mean, we're not gonna draw, I'm like, I'm not gonna draw a new seal up and put it in the document, so.
so I think
so
the charter kind of area could be a good one.
I think that's a good idea.
I think I think the finance area, which gets into contract approval, there's an assessment system apparently that is old, not needed in capital planning. And
Um,
maybe Chris, you run that one. That could be a good one.
And I will have, we will have some good comments from the chairman of the Board of Finance by then.
And the other.
Yes, okay,
So, and I was thinking potentially you start, then you maybe look at like either checks and balances or given your passion on terms, maybe we start attacking terms. You know, that could be, you know, a good one. Or do we wait on terms until we have all of the boards and commissions, various input and such?
yeah, well, so just timing wise, if everyone responds to the date that I gave, which was by the 13th of the month, we will have all our inputs that we solicited before we meet on the 19th, I think it's either the 17th or 19th, I don't remember which. My point is, my deadline is before the next meeting.
And I was planning then by the end of the day of the 15th, that's a Sunday, I think. Everything we received, through public comment, I would get in the spreadsheet and get to you guys. And then
Yeah,
after
and
that,
we need a little time to, we would
Yeah.
send it to everybody and
Yeah, so I'd get it to you.
can't do
on
it the day of,
Like the 15th.
yeah, like I said, we received great input today, but it's just
Yeah.
too late, right? The terms. I'm fine talking about terms. I guess,
Where's that, where's the commission? Oh, I see, sorry.
I think the terms, so for example, if we had done this tonight, we probably would not have talked about the Ethics Commission. So if we tackle terms, I think we just have to realize that when we talk about the library trustees or something like that, we might not talk about that at our next meeting. But when we talk about, I'm just using library trustees as an example, and if they're term limited, I'm just saying, I'm gonna advocate for that to be taken out. So if we're okay with having the terms discussion and still iterating within commissions and stuff like that, I think that's a great one too.
So
Cause
charter-
there's some meaty ones in there, right?
Mhm.
The Board of Selectmen and Ms. Vitale or select person Vitale had some great, if you haven't read them yet,
Yeah, she had
just
some
great
great
recommendations. I'm not saying I agree with all of them or don't agree with all of them, but they are some meaty topics that really will, and they will fall square. Oh, no, I guess they
It
won't.
wouldn't be terms.
The
It would be
finance
certain-
part is-
the finance, well, yeah, the finance part would, yeah, right. But I was thinking of the other one, but
Yeah.
Board of Education and the size of the Board of Select Persons.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that would, yeah, I think terms is great. Sorry, I'm
So
belaboring this, but I think this is, it's not like we can't.
charter.
Charter, financial and terms. Now, just a little gut check. It's, we started the meeting at 7:30. We're 2.5 hours in. I think we did a lot of stuff here. That's just my opinion. Does this feel okay? I mean,
Mhm. We're making
is
progress.
it a little too slow? Do we need more topics? These are, I'm not saying these are easy, but is this the right pace? Like, is every 3 topics gonna get us
I mean, I think it depends what other.
healthy discussion?
What the topics are and stuff, but yeah, we got a lot done tonight, I think.
Okay. Good, because I really want to talk about the golf commissioner. terms. Really, yeah, I'm gonna drag Curly here and make him rationalize himself. Okay, great. So for the next agenda, I will put charter, financial, in terms.
Okay, great.
We have public.
Yes, yeah. This is before my public comment. So, agenda item 11, public comment. Sure, you've been very patient. Thank you for your inputs. First off, I appreciate you submitting your inputs to the system.
Well, this has been very instructive, and like I said before, I'm here primarily. I don't have anything to add other than what we submitted from the Solid Waste and Recycling Commission. We do believe that we should be part of the charter, and we presented our case for that. I won't spend any more time doing that, but I also like I said before, I'm impressed with the way you guys are running this very important commission here, and it's helped me to run the meetings that we have as well. So I know it's been very instructive, and I've learned a lot about the Ethics Commission. I knew nothing about it before, so, but that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone online who would like to comment? I'm gonna pass. And I don't know whose phone that is, so.
Kathleen.
Oh,
Who is it?
Kathleen Griffin.
Ah, okay. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Thank you guys online. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.